Hey queens, what's up? It's your girl PrettyeyesLee back with a new video. If you want to know how I achieve this look, make sure you keep watching. Like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Also, turn that notification bell on. Thank you. Mwah. Alright guys, let's get into this video. So first I will be starting off with the brows. I always start off with the brows first. Anastasia dip brow is what I will be using with a flat brush and a spoolie on the end to get the look of the eyebrows that I'm going for. So starting with the bottom of the eyebrow, you want to just outline your natural shape. But starting with the eyebrow, you want to line the bottom first and then give you a nice little sort of like an arch once you line the top there. And then once you get that look, you want to shade it in, make it as dark as you want. I don't like mine's that dark. I like for my eyebrows to look a little bit natural. And then I'm just going to go in that inner corner there just to kind of make it light. You want to use a light hand too. That way it's really light there in the inside. You don't want it to be like a dark square. So you want to do a light hand on the inside and just kind of shade the inside. All right. Then I'll be moving on to the next eyebrow. I'm going to be repeating the same steps that I did on the previous one. You want to, again, line the bottom of your eyebrow. Your natural shape is what you are lining. You don't need to go far up under your eyebrow to get the shape that you're looking for. Some take the top up just a little bit just to make the eyebrow a little bit thicker. But in my case, I don't really care if it's much thicker. So I'm just lining the top the same as my eyebrow shape. And then at the arch part, I'm going out a little bit just to get that deep arch there. So you want to make it dark enough so that it looks natural. You want it to look like your eyebrow. And then when you get to the inside of your eyebrow, you want to use a very light hand and just kind of shade that inner area so that it goes from light to dark to the tail. If you can see, you want it to look really natural on the inside of your eyebrow. Next, I am using my concealer by Tarte. It's Tape Shape in the tan sand is what it is. This I am applying onto the back of my hand, and then I am going in and lining the under part of the brow just to clean it up a little bit, make it have a sharp look to it. So you want to do this to each side of your eyebrow, and you want to be very careful not to mess up the shape that you have already gotten of your eyebrow. This, you just want to clean it up a little bit. When using the concealer, I like to use like 1 to 2 shades lighter than my skin tone, just so when I go into the lid of what I'm doing, then it kind of highlights the brow bone just a little bit. That makes it so I don't have to use like a highlighter on my brow bone too much. I can just go right into my eyeshadow that of my choice that I'm going to be doing. So to each its own. You don't have to use 1 to 2 shades lighter than your skin tone. You can use the same color of your skin tone to kind of clean up your eyebrows if you don't want that highlight kind of look. But I like that look, especially if I'm kind of doing a dramatic eye. Typically, if I'm just doing an everyday makeup and I'm doing my brows, then I'll use my skin tone color to clean up my eyebrows, especially on top. Underneath, I typically always use a lighter color, but sometimes I will use the same color as my skin tone. So you want to do the same thing on the other side of your eyebrow. You do want to remember your eyebrows are sisters, not twins. So it is okay if you can't get the perfect the exact shape as your other eyebrow. I don't think too many people are gonna notice it, but if you can, then just try to make sure that your eyebrows look the same because you don't want to be looking crazy, sis. So make sure you take your time and clean up your eyebrows really well. I keep taking a look just to make sure that they both are looking the same, which is normal. You want to make sure that both your eyebrows are nice. You don't want to be out here looking crazy. Using is a brush from Real Techniques. It's just a little fluffy brush that I am blending the concealer into my eyelid with. This just helps for when you start applying your eyeshadow, that you don't have a crazy looking eyebrow that you haven't blended in. So you do want to make sure that you blend that concealer into your eyelid. So once you put a primer, you can either use an eyelid primer or you can use concealer, whichever one you want. Then you want to make sure that's not looking too crazy. So make sure you blend that out really well. As you can see, I am blending because blending is very important. Again, I can't stress this enough. You do not want to have harsh lines in your makeup application when you are doing it, because you can pretty much see the start of everything if you do not blend it well. Next, I am using the Crayon case glue, basically eyeshadow glue. It's not really glue, you guys, but it is like a eyelid primer for your eyeshadow. So I will be using that this time. Most times I'll just use concealer, but this time I wanted to use this eyelid primer. So I put it on the back of my hand, and then I take a little flat brush to apply it to my lid. And once I apply it to my lid, I just kind of spread it all over each eyes. And then with that same Real Techniques brush, I blend it in really well. So here you'll see me doing that to each eyelid. So the eyeshadow palette that I'm using for this look is the Watch Me Blush by the Crayon case. I'm starting with the color Hot Cocoa, which is kind of like a dark brown color. So I'm going in with that color first with one of the Crayon case fluffy brushes from her line as well. This is just going to be used to apply the color to my outer corner. So I am patting that in just to kind of get the shape that I want, because what I am going to do is try to get kind of like a gradient look. So I want it to be darker on the outside and then light on the inside. So I'm packing that on. You do want to just pack. You don't want to go back and forth. Just pat it in for this look. You do also want to use a light hand. So if you can tell, I'm holding the makeup brush at the end of it versus down below. So that is a difference depending on how you hold your eyeshadow brush. If you hold it closer to the brush end, then you most likely are going to get a heavier look with a lot more color. So the goal is to be able to work yourself up to the color that you are trying to achieve. So you want to start out with a light hand and then just keep adding color to it to achieve the look that you're trying to do. You don't want to go in immediately and start off really dark, because then you may not like the look that you're trying to get, and then it also may be harder to blend out those harsh lines when you start using multiple colors. So if you're only going to use one color, then it's a little bit different. You can, have a heavy hand, but if you're trying to use multiple colors, then you want to have a light hand when you are packing on that color, so that it's easy for you to blend other colors into that color. So brown is a dark color anyways, so you want to have a light hand with that. It's kind of like black. You want to make sure that you don't go so hard on the color when you get it. This palette is very pigmented, so a little bit goes a long way. I didn't have to pretty much rub my brush in it too hard. I just kind of dabbed it in there. So the next color that I'm using is a Tangerine color. It's kind of like an orange color. I'll be using that right above that shade brown, just to give, that's going to give that two-tone look. So when you're doing this type of look, you do want to put a lighter color on top of your main color so that they can blend in together. So I'm just going in and adding that tangerine on top of the brown so that it gives kind of like a nice fall look. As we know, fall colors are browns and things. Same as I said in my last video, I'll be doing a lot of fall looks because I just like those looks. They look natural and it's that time of the year anyway. So those are the type of looks that I like, especially during this type of weather. So going in on the other eyelid, using that same color, tangerine, in the Watch Me Blush palette, I'm going in and just kind of making sure that both sides are even so that I can get the look that I am trying to do. So you want to check, make sure you're even on both sides. Apologize, my camera was a little bit dark, but you can see that orange now. So that just helps to blend out that line. If you could tell, that brown had kind of like a little line to it that was left over. So once I put the orange on there, it blended that out pretty much. And what I did was pack that in as well. So the next color that I'm going to be using is from the matte book. This is also from the Crayon case. This color is kind of like a darker brown, but almost black color that I'm going to be using on the corner of the eyelid. I'm only going to be using in that V corner just to kind of give a wing look. But also I'm not going to be dragging it to the inside of the lid because I only want to smoke out the corners. So I'm just still patting that on. And then I'm going to go back in with that first fluffy brush that I used to apply the brown shade, just to kind of blend it out a little bit so that the lines are not harsh. So I'm going to do that on each eyelid. But again, I'm not taking that too far in to the inner corner of my eyelid because I don't want to smoke that out. So you just want to do it on the outer corner there. All right, guys, we have made it to the fun part. We are now about to cut our crease, girls. So that same concealer that I used to line out my eyebrows, we are going to be cutting our crease with. I took a significant amount and applied it to the back of my hand, and I'm using a flat brush, which is also from the Crayon case, and applying that to my lid. So what I did was apply a little bit close to my eyelash and then look up just to know where I'm going to start my cut crease at. That is extremely okay to do, especially if you are not as experienced and have not been doing cut creases for a long time like I have. Then it's appropriate to do that. It honestly makes it super easy to do. So I always like to apply just a little bit and then look up. That makes it so that I don't start my cut crease too low, and then when I go to start blinking, now I've rubbed eyeshadow or, you know, concealer everywhere, and it messes up my whole look that I'm trying to get. So that's why I apply it to the bottom part of my eyelid, and then I look up just to get, you know, the look that I'm going for. So you'll see me, I'm not as experienced in the cut crease, but I like doing them just because it just makes your eyelids and your eyeshadow applications look super, super nice. So I'm going to keep on doing more cut creases just so that any of you guys, you know, if you want to learn how to do cut crease, then you can try. So I'm blending the outer part just a little bit into that black shadow, but I don't want to cover the black shadow because I want that to still be smoky. So I'm just taking it out just a little bit and applying that. Y'all, I am literally recording while my son is somewhere I am so trying to hide. But anyways, I am going in on this cut crease and I'm just making that line as straight as I can get it because I don't want a sloppy line. So I'm just going in and making sure that line is really as straight as you can get it. So I'll do that on both lids, and then once I'm done with that and I've gotten the shape of it that I want, then I'll go back in with that Real Techniques brush and I'll just kind of pat that concealer out so that it is blended in, and it also just kind of sets the concealer a little bit. So once you start blending in that concealer, the only thing that this is doing is pretty much making that kind of matte instead of a wet look, so that once you apply your eyeshadow on top of that, then it's matte looking. So you do brown shade, that hot cocoa from the Watch Me blush palette, and I am going in here just to put back some color and kind of have that nice smoky transition into the cut crease. So I'll be doing that on both sides, and you want to make sure that you blend really well because you cut your crease, so you don't want that harsh line from the cut crease to be showing through your eyeshadow. So you do want to make sure that you blend that really well. So in these corners, I'm just going in with that hot cocoa color, and I'm just patting that on, packing it on, so that I can get the look that I'm going for. Still, I'm not wanting to interrupt that darker brown color that I applied to the outer V of the eyelid. So I don't want to interrupt that color because we're going for a smoky look. So next, the colors that I'm going to be using is from the same palette, the Watch Me blush. It is a kind of like a goldish look in cappuccino, and then the other color is strawberry cream that I am going to be using. So I am going to start with the cappuccino first, and I'm applying that right on the inner part of the eyelid, directly on top of that cut crease. So I want that color to be just almost the same shade as the cut crease that I want. So that's why I decided to use that color first on the inner corner, because I want to keep that light look to it, because our look is basically kind of Thanksgiving fall color look. So if y'all are like me, I like to put on makeup. I'm probably only going to sit on the couch at somebody's house to eat food. So this is my Thanksgiving sleigh. So the next color that I'm using is the strawberry cream color. I'm applying that in the middle of the cappuccino and that dark brown, the hot cocoa shade. So just to give a little bit of extra color to the lid. So I went from like a nude look to a little bit of pink color into the lid, just to make it pop a little bit more. So you kind of have that ombre look of the eyelid basically. So I want to make sure that all three of those colors are blended within each other, because I don't want any harsh lines in my eyelid. So you want to just make sure you pat those in with each other. All right, ladies, so now we are about to wing it out. Just wing it out. Oh yeah. So I am using the Elf liquid liner. The liner that I normally use, I ran out of, so I decided to use Elf because it is just as good and it is just as cheap, and I like to be cheap. So we are going to now wing out our eyeliner. Yes, queens, wing it out. So this takes time, of course. So if you are not as experienced, you can use tape for this actually. So you can apply the tape to the outer corner of your eyelid and then just basically kind of trace that tape so that you can get the wing, and then you'll just go back in and pull it from the wing to the inner corner of your eyelid. So I've been doing the wings for a while, so I kind of just know how to create that look. But for beginners, you can grab tape. So grab a piece of tape and go for it, girl. So with this eyeliner, you can also either make it kind of thick if you want it, but I do not want my eyeshadow to be put in the background, so I do not want my eyeliner to take over my eyelid. So I am not making my liner, my wing, that thick, so that you can still see the eyeshadow, basically, because the star of the show is the eyeshadow. So I'm going to go into the next one. I always have a hard time doing my left eyelid whenever I do a wing. My right side always seems to be so much better and so much easier to do than my left side. But tonight, queens, I did that. I was able to get the wing on the first try. Typically, whenever I do it, I always make it too fat on the outer corner. So then I have to go back in on the other side and make that even with the left side. And I'm just glad I didn't have to do that because, again, the star of the show is the eyeshadow, period, poo. So you'll see me kind of in an awkward position. I'm trying to make sure that the mirror does not cover my face so that you guys can see what I'm doing. So we're just dragging that eyeliner to the inner corner, still just making kind of like a thin line, but not too thin. You want to be able to see the eyeliner, so I don't want it to be too thin, but I also don't want it to be too fat. Just because, again, I don't want my eyeliner to take over my whole look that I am going for. So you just want to make sure that you take your time with this, because if you have a shaky hand, then your lines can be pretty much messed up if you are applying liquid liner. If you can't work with liquid liner, they make cream liner and gel liner. You can use that as well. So it's kind of whatever, you know, whatever works for you. Now we are adding lashes. Yes, lashes. Lashes make your eyes look so beautiful when you are doing dramatic eyeshadow. So the glue that I will be using is the famous Duo glue. You can get it anywhere. Everybody uses it. This is what I like to use to apply because I have sensitive eyelids, so I don't want to use anything that's going to break my eyelids out. So when you apply the glue to your eyelashes, you want to let them sit for 30 seconds. A lot of times I let mine sit for longer than 30 seconds just because sometimes 30 seconds is not long enough and then my glue is still wet, and when I go to apply the lash, it's moving everywhere. So I do other stuff while I let my eyelashes sit until I'm ready to apply them. So while I'm letting my eyelashes sit to the side for at least 30 seconds, sometimes I let it go for a little bit longer, I am using the MAC Strobe kind of moisturizer on my face, just to moisturize before you do your foundation. So I apply just a little bit to my cheeks because I have oily skin, so I don't want to pretty much make my skin super oily before I put my foundation on. So I'm going in with the moisturizer and just moisturizing my cheeks really well. This makes it to where when you put on your foundation goes on really smooth and your face is not really dry and make dry flakes all over your face. So you do want to make sure that you moisturize and or prime your face before you put on your foundation. So my eyelashes weren't dry or tacky yet, so I'm gonna go in and go ahead and do my bottom lash line. I'm using the NYX color in white. I want to apply that to my lower lash line first because I am going to be going in with a pop of color. So I'm going to be lining my waterline with the color white. White just helps it so you can add color and the color pops more versus just adding color onto it. So I've noticed that if I were to add just the plain color by itself, then it wouldn't be as bright as I wanted. So that's why I use the white liner first. You could leave it like this, or if you do not want to have the white, then you can add color onto it. In my case, I am going to add color onto it because I don't want to have the white color. So I'm going in with an aqua color from the Watch Me Blush palette. I'm just going in and patting that on. So because you are on your waterline, it can get into your eye just a little bit. So you do want to make sure that you blink enough, or else it's going to irritate your eyes. So if you're like me, it starts to irritate, so I had to blink a lot and then just kind of make sure that I was looking a certain way so that I was not dumping powder into my eyes, because it's very irritating. So you do want to take your time with that and just pat that color on until you get the color that you are going for. And this palette, the colors are really nice. They are full of pigment, so it did not take much on top of the white. So this blue didn't take much at all. So I pretty much got the look that I am going for because this pigment is so nice and my eyes already look very nice. So I'm pretty much happy with this blue color. So next I'm going to be going in kind of with that hot cocoa color, and I'm smoking out the bottom lash. So I'm going right up under the blue because the blue is on my lash line. I'm going right up under the blue in with that smoky look just to give that nice to it. So that just pretty much brings in my whole eyeshadow look. Because I have the hot cocoa color on the top and I'm just kind of got that smoky on the top, I also want to do the bottom and have that smoked out as well. So you'll see me go in also kind of with a little tangerine color. So I did apply the tangerine color as well as the hot cocoa color to the bottom of my lash line. So now we should be on to our lashes. I think the lashes have set for a pretty good amount of time. So in my opinion, 30 seconds is not enough. So I let mine sit for a little bit longer before I apply my lashes. So now I am going to be applying the lashes. I let the glue sit for long enough and now it's become a little tacky. You want to grab a mirror and you want to look down when you are applying your lashes. You don't want to look up because it makes it a little harder for you to get them close to your lash line. I started off using lash tweezers, but then with these lashes, it was easy for me to just use my fingers. So that's what I did. With this one, it was pretty easy to do with my fingers since I don't have nails on or anything. Then it was easy for me to get really close to my lash line. So when I apply the lash, I apply it with, depending on how your lashes is, if they kind of have a U shape, then it makes it easy for them to apply. Just because that's kind of the shape that your eyelashes are going. So it makes it easy for them to apply. So I was able to actually sit the lash in place and not have to do too much readjusting on it. I sat down the center of the lash first, and then I attached the outer corners and then the inner corner. I first initially applied with the eyelash tweezers, and then I'll go back in with my fingertips just to kind of get it right on the tip of where I need for it. So here you'll see me kind of go out of frame a little bit because I got glue in my eye and it burned extremely bad. So I had to pretty much fix that and adjust because, yeah, your girl got glue in her eyes. So I had to fix that eyelash off camera. So once I come back in the frame, you'll see that my eyelash is on because I did have to fix that off out of focus just to make sure that I did not get glue in my eye again. So I had to get a little bit closer to the mirror that I was using so that I could apply the lash a little bit better without it getting in my eye. So I did get that applied. You do see the glue a little bit where I had applied it initially. That right above that is white, but it dries to be clear, so that will go away. So no need to worry about that. The white part of the glue you will see kind of disappear throughout the video because it dries clear, which I love. Next, you'll see me going in with the foundation. This color, this is from L'Oreal. It's a tan shade is what I use. So I take a little foundation brush and I'll put foundation all over, and then I go back in with my damp beauty blender sponge, and I blend that all over really well. That was me just kind of showing you that is the L'Oreal, the True Match to be exact. So again, you'll see me going in and blending this foundation all the way out. You want to pat it in. I like using the beauty blender versus a brush. I don't know why. I just feel like I get a better application and more of coverage whenever I do the sponge versus the brush. So I just pack it on, and you want to make sure that you take it down into the neck area because you don't want to be looking like two-faced out here and your face looking one color and your neck looking a different color, sis. You don't want to do that. So make sure you take your foundation down into the neck area, just to make sure that it blends into your chest really well. And make sure that you're patting that in really good. A damp beauty blender is best versus a dry one, just because it helps to set that foundation into your skin. The goal of liquid foundation is for it to melt into your skin to give you that nice airbrush finish, which is what I am going for. So I think this sponge did a very good job, and I like this foundation. It was really, it's my color pretty much, but it was nice and blendable. So once I finish patting the foundation in really good, then I will be going in next with the Age Rewind Concealer under my eyes to highlight. This concealer is in golden because I want to give kind of like a little highlight to my under eye area. So golden seemed to be kind of the lighter color. It's not the exact same shade as I used under my eyebrow. It had more of a yellowish tone to it versus a whitish tone. So that's why I wanted to use the golden. And it's also kind of, it's not sheer, but it's not as full coverage either. So that's why I wanted to use that. So I put a little bit under my eyes, down my nose where I'm gonna contour, and in my smile lines and above my lip area. So that's what I am doing there. Next, I'm taking that same beauty blender sponge and I am patting out the concealer that I applied under my eyes. I'm using the same sponge since I've already been using it, and it's the damp one, so there's truly no need for me to switch to something else to blend this out. I found that it is best to keep using the same one that I had, simply because it has a little bit of product from the foundation on there, so it kind of helps to blend out those harsh lines from where the concealer stops at. So when I use this, then it just kind of helps to blend that into the actual foundation so that you don't have a separation of the colors on your face. So that's why I use that same beauty blender sponge, because it has the foundation on there, which kind of helps to blend all the colors together. So next, I am going to be setting the under eye area with setting powder. I am using the Revolution Luxury Baking Powder in the color Banana. I will be using that to set my under eyes and all the other areas that I applied concealer at. I went back in and applied just a little bit of concealer to my forehead. I didn't really need much, so that's why I just added just a very tiny bit, because I don't like to put too much concealer on my forehead. If I'm gonna highlight anything, then I'll just add highlighter to my forehead. So that's why you see me only doing just a little bit of concealer towards the end on my forehead. But once again, I am using the banana color in the Luxury Baking Powder by Revolution, that you'll see in the frame there. I'm using a little bit of that. I don't do baking or anything, so I just apply it a generous amount under my eyes and in all the areas that I applied the concealer. This helps so that you do not crack throughout the day, especially under your eyes, because that's not cute, sis. So when people are talking to you and you're taking pictures and everything, you don't want your makeup to be cracking and starting to come loose. You want everything to be melted into your skin. The whole goal of your foundation is for it to look like your skin, just more flawless. So that's why I'm going in with that same beauty blender and applying a little bit of that baking powder. So that kind of sets the color and makes me have a matte look, a matte finish versus a glow, like a dewy finish. My skin is oily, so I do not like the dewy look. It makes me look super, super, super oily. Even though it's hydrating to most people, it makes me look oily, so I do not like that. So now that I've set my concealer, I'm going in with the Contourization notebook. I always say that wrong, but the Contourization notebook by the Crayon case. I'm using the color Bricky, which is kind of like that light brown but just a little bit darker than me shade. So I'm going to be using that to do my contour. To apply this contour, I am using a brush from Real Techniques. It's just a sharp like little angle brush or so, I guess you would say. But I'm just using that to apply the contour shade on each side of my face. When you apply it, you want to blend it upward just to give yourself that high cheekbone kind of look. My face is already kind of round, so you know, everybody's face shape is a little bit different. But for this, I do want to take the contour up into my cheekbones a little bit. This kind of helps to give the illusion of high cheekbones. So if you don't have high cheekbones already, then this would be a great tool to learn, just because depending on how you contour, then it will give that illusion. So when you're taking your pictures, then it'll come off as if you have high cheekbones. So I went in with another brush by Crayon case, actually a little bit of a fluffier brush, still for contouring, but I went in for that instead, just to kind of blend upward. So it gave me more of that blended look that I was looking for. So that's why I used that. I'm also taking that around the forehead to kind of bring color back into the forehead, and also the cheekbones. So even though I didn't put too much highlight on my forehead, I still want to bring that contour kind of around in those areas a little bit, because I want to make the focus of the highlight part in my cheek and in my cheek area and in my that middle of the forehead. The middle of the forehead, typically the sun will hit, so once you highlight it, it's going to give an amazing kind of brown, not brown, but what am I trying to say? A nice golden look. So, you want to have that look. Now I'm going in on my nose and lightly contouring my nose. I don't really like to contour my nose too much because I'm fine with the way that my nose look whenever I have it, so I don't do too much contouring of the nose. I did do just a little bit this time, just because I was experimenting a little bit and it actually came out to be really good. So I really like that color to do my contour with. So you do want to make sure that you blend that out really well, or else your nose is going to be looking like you attached it with some needle and thread. So make sure you blend out everything really well. Now I'm going to be going in with that same baking powder and just kind of making that contour line pretty sharp so that when you see it, you know where the contour starts, and then you also see all the highlighted areas. So I like to go in and do that, but I also don't want it to be so noticeable, so I kind of just pat that powder into my skin so that it kind of melts in and also give kind of that matte look to that area as well. Now I'm taking that same brush that I did the contouring with, and I'm going back over that line just to make sure that both of those areas are blended. Even though I put the powder there, I do not want it to look like it went from one color to the next color. So I want those two colors to be blended. So I took that same brush and just kind of blended it all together. The whole goal is for your whole face to be blended and everything match all together. So now I'm taking just a little bit of blush. I actually used the Tangerine color this time and added it on my cheeks a little bit just to bring kind of a little bit of color into the cheeks as well with the contour. So I went in for that. I realized that I actually forgot my highlight after I did the setting of my whole face. So you'll see that in the beginning of the video. I forgot to put the highlight on, and the highlight is like the finishing touch, but that's okay because the application was still wonderful and beautiful. So here I'm just going in with my L'Oreal True Match powder in medium tan, I believe it is, and I'm just setting the whole face with this powder so that all the contours and the concealer and everything is pretty much set. I haven't left anything out, as well as dusting away any leftover baking powder that is sitting on my face. So me doing that is just dusting all of that away and giving an even more matte kind of look, which I love the matte look because my face is oily. So when I'm like this, my face tends to stay put a little bit longer versus if I do not set my face with the powder afterwards, after using liquid foundation. So now I am going in and I am applying a little bit of mascara to my lashes. I forgot to actually put my mascara on before I did my lashes, but it's okay because these type of lashes were pretty thick, so you can't really tell. But I was applying the mascara to make the falsies kind of flutter up a little bit more. So that just kind of helps. I got that actual tip from another MUA that I follow on Instagram, and she had done that. So that's kind of where I got that from, and it works. So now I'm adding the mascara to my bottom lash because I don't want my bottom lashes to look bare, since I have lashes at the top and then I also have color at the bottom of my lash, on the bottom of my lashes. Then I want to have that mascara to just bring the look in all together. So now we are getting to the lips. I am going to be using a liner from Huda Beauty. It is in kind of like a mauve color, kind of like a pinkish color. So I am wiping off my lips with a baby wipe to get the foundation off of my lips. And then I will be going in and lining my lips with this. This lip liner is very creamy and it's easy to apply. So I'm just applying that. If you have a lip moisturizer, apply that before you get to your liner. It makes it easier to apply. I am now setting my face with the Morphe continuous setting spray. I actually like this spray. So my two favorite sprays are the by MAC. It is a matte finish setting spray by Matte, and then this Morphe setting spray is actually pretty good. I don't think it overpowers my face, and it doesn't make my face even oilier, which is wonderful. The matte spray was super good. It made my face stay matte for a pretty long time. But anywho, I am lining my lips, and then I will be going in after I line my lips with the Crayon Case Clean Kisses lip gloss. It's kind of like a neutral color lip gloss on top of the pink liner, just to give that two-tone color, but not like super off from each other. So I am going in with that. I actually like the lip gloss from the Crayon Case. I carry it around because it's my favorite one, and it's nice to use with any look eyeshadow that you do, especially if you are going for like a natural look versus a bold lip. So Clean Kisses is what I am using. My focus in my camera wasn't as great, so I do apologize, but it was Clean Kisses by the Crayon Case in the glosses that I got from her. So that is what we are working with, guys. All right, queens, you have made it through this tutorial. You should be very proud of yourself, girl. So now that you are ready to slay for Thanksgiving, make sure you guys like this video, comment, and let me know what you want to see next in the next video. Also, subscribe and turn that notification bell on so that you are notified when a new video is out. I appreciate you guys. Love you guys. Thank you for watching.